I'm Mr. Rosansky, and this is a speed run of Practice Test 9, the first module, the A module, the medium one. And we are going to find that first convention and absolutely enjoy our time with this test in a very nice manner. Omega conventions, let's see what's up first. I've got verbs, so I'm going to check for number first. I've got a neither, I've got a both, I've got a neither, I've got a neither. I am going to start considering what I've got in the surrounding text. That's a little prepositional phrase. Hit me with the subject right there. This, I'm loving a verb that tells me when to be right here, but I'm going to keep reading to be disciplined. This is some sort of a positive phrase. Then I've got a list here. Yeah, so if I didn't choose this, I wouldn't have a verb that tells me when. Therefore, I need to. Omega conventions. This is going to be a mood question because I see questions and statements seeming to appear and disappear. So if these plants were in the situation that did this thing, could this thing happen, or am I making a statement? And my solution for this actually comes after. This makes it clear that it's not known, so we are asking a question. I am in the convention section. I'm going to check for the Omega conventions that might pop. I see that this is the CS mix-up because I've got the beauty guy right there. I've got the space, and I've got my two lonely options. The first lonely option is the comma, and then I've got the lonely coordinating conjunction that's chilling right there. So I'll go considering to see if I have complete sentence on either side. I looked at my first sentence. I've got this as a subject, this as a verb, so that's gorgeous. Then, as I keep skimming, I got a dependent clause here, but that has no effect on the fact that I have a complete sentence to the left. Then, if I were to grab the TMAO as a subject, I've got a subject and a verb right here. Two complete sentences have to be joined by something that can join them, and well, the period's the only guy that can technically join them. I've got another Omega convention. I am going to check for verbs because that's what's in front of me. I've got a plural, I've got a plural, I've got a plural. Even though the typing's bad and I've got a singular, I can bias this little odd man out, start looking for a subject. This is a little bridgy poo, therefore this is my subject. We've got one person, we've got an is, don't have to consider a when. Omega conventions, transitions are going to be it. I'm going to check for CS on either side. It's a great skill. Jetties can. I often say a verb that tells me when, but this is an instance of a verb with modality. We should learn them. They're very important. So I have a complete sentence on the left so far. That's tracking. Let me check the right side. Obstructing, maybe participle or gerund. I bounce into this modal verb, and it's the exact same situation that I have on the left. What a little gift. I've got complete sentences on either side. Therefore, I'm going to let these fall now. As I've said before, and I'll say it every single time, I do know that though could be a subordinated conjunction, and maybe B should not be taken off the table, but I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to say it. So now we go looking for contrast, looking for where the contrast is in step 2. Jetties are often, jetties, which are this thing, are often constructed to protect. And then I've got my answer. Even though to protect, they sometimes be not protect, right? They're sometimes bad. Therefore, this A, even though it's at the end of this clause, would give me access to that first sentence. Gorgeous. Oh no, we're done with them. We love those. That's okay though. We have our transition question. I see a first, which I can't help but ignore. There is this thing that's being done. Second, we can just imagine. Second, the massive effort divided by likely. This is exactly the case. Most logical transition. Earth's auroras, which are these thing, result, broadly speaking, from the sun's activity. The sun's released. This seems to be an example of the sun's activity, or the instance of, not an example, what it does. Therefore, it's going to be specifically. Because it was broad, then it's going to be specific. It's not similarly because it is the thing. I misspoke when I said it's an example of. It is the thing. There's no contrast. And it's not cause and effect because it is the specific activity. Logical transition. As the name indicates, the project currently in development, the project that is currently in development. As the name indicates, the project consists of wind turbine roads off Virginia's coast. The project plan calls for these things to be placed here. So this seems just like the last one, like a specific instance of the plan, or not an instance, the specificity of the plan. And I'm going to be exact here. It's not a conclusion. It's not a result of the first thing, and there's nothing that is in contrast. I want to recount the events proposed by the recount the sequence of events that is proposed by the researcher. So what are the sequence of events that they proposed? According to researchers' simulations, two events likely occurred around 160 million years ago. Gorgeous so far. First, chrysalis came close to Saturn, and second, debris. This is gorgeous so far. If a moon orbiting a planet like Sun comes close enough to the planet, this would be like their conclusion derived from. This doesn't seem like it's going to work. Not a kind of hypothetical of something that could happen. We want a sequence of events. It gives me that. I keep reading. Around 160 million years ago, woof, this feels good, just like this one did. The moon came close enough to Saturn that tidal forces broke the moon apart. Okay. Then, so both of these seem to be providing a sequence. Both of them do what I think this goal should do, so I have to dig in and see what's different between them. Two events likely occurred. This feels like two events too. First, they came close to Saturn. First, a large moon. Chrysalis is the large moon. Came close enough to Saturn that tidal forces broke the moon apart. Chrysalis came. And second, debris from Saturn rings caused the moon. So they're making a difference about the fact of the matter. A is saying that the rings caused the moon to break apart. C is saying that tidal forces broke the moon apart. And I see that this was offering a data that tidal. Okay, so what a moon orbiting that tidal forces can cause a moon to break apart, and I think that's going to be it. But is that what they concluded happened? So we keep reading very close. At this distance, this would have been broken apart by tidal forces. Yeah, so A's wrong. C is saying that tidal forces broke the moon apart, and I love it. We've got first, we've got next. They can dictate some. Oh no, this is research of the sequence of events. If it were like undertaken, not proposed by, this is the solution. We want to emphasize the fossil's significance. So why is the fossil significant? Why? Why is the fossil significant? Canadian found the fossil has the skull and teeth of a seal. This just seems like a description of what they found, not the significance. They're descended from a fossil that was recently found. This is just speaking about the significance, but I'm going to leave them on the table because I'm getting scared. Having 4 legs, but the teeth and skull of a seal, the rare fossil illustrates an early stage. I love this. This seems to emphasize the fossil's significance. I'll take that off the table because I didn't like it. A transitional fossil was found. Yeah, putting in quotes doesn't emphasize it. The words illustrates, rare and illustrates gives us the why does it matter? Because it emphasizes it shows the early stage. I would imagine it's true, and there it is, right there at the end. Gorgeous. We want a difference in the origin of the two words. Word, one in a spelling bee. There's an origin. We've got a word and we've got an origin. I like you. Woof, all this stuff. We've got a word. However, the following year, a different word one. Was it in the origin of the two words? Yeah, an origin of the two words. Not a different in the way in which they manifested on the spelling bee. Spelling bee by spelling this word. This isn't giving me a difference about the origin. This gives me just Greek. And this is saying that uses words from diverse. This could almost make it seem like they're coming from the same one, right? Diverse linguistics. Yeah, this is trash. Let's just double check. Is Guerdon Anglo-French? Yes. Is Lido ancient Greek? Absolutely. Too easy. We want to emphasize the similarity between the two paintings. Monkman finished in 2009. This is a difference. Although the paintings were inspired by this person, the people in the action. So this is a difference. And I don't think I would say that to be inspired by something is a similarity, but maybe. Lots of them are both huge. That's a similarity. And we have those. So respectively means that Lutz's would be 149. His huge painting, Lutz. Good, that's true. And then the other one, 132. 132, yeah, that's true. My original suspicion must be true. The painting's trash, right? This is a difference of what's in the content. So let's start at the start. Logical, precise word and phrase. I see a however. I love that signal element has found these uncontrollable contractions. The person diaphragm contracts uncontrollably. Plug that in, and then we can find involuntarily. Next question, we've got a colon. We've got that bouncing me to many accomplishments. Conjunctive verbs are many. Many, 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 many. Extensive just means that there's a whole bunch, and that's all that we're going to say. Match the synonym. Colon, I love when they give us these little gifts. Present yet having essentially no effect is going to be my context clue. Signal element to colon. Lowering the body temperature, heart rates, slow the breathing, and lowering the body temperature may be present with no effect. Through the winter may be present with no effect. So this one's going to be dormant. Sorry that I spaced out for a moment. We're in this another colon. She broke into the field. She did not view the comma as something that she couldn't break into, as impenetrable. Signal on the context too easy. So let's fight our fight. We got a sentence of the underlined in the text as a whole. Let's first fight our fight on the underlined sentence. By doing so, she gained valuable insight into her subject's day-to-day life. By doing whatever, and I'm going to resist the temptation to look just yet. She gained valuable insights into her subjects' day-to-day lives. Right? She did something, and she knew a lot about the people she interviewed, or whatever. A little known fact: this does not provide a little known geographical fact about Kentucky. It argues that she is an expert on politics. Valuable insights, maybe, but I don't know how I'd access politics from this. Presents a major historical event. It does not present a major historical event. It describes how she benefited from incorporating oral history in her book. How did she incorporate it? Right? How did she do it? She gained valuable. It's got to be this one. I don't know where it would be making the assertion that she's a political expert. Anywhere. I'll look for that. Yeah, that's garbage. Oh, sorry about that. I missed the mute for the mic. Forgive me. Main purpose of the text. Oof, we've got to read and we've got to summarize. Miss Payne sat at the window in her dress, in her best dress, looking stately and calm. She seldom went out now. It was almost time for the carriage. Girl, be fancy, is what I seem to got that. And still, fancy and still, fancy and calm. She is a shut-in. Next sentence, Martha was just coming in from the garden. Martha be poppin' though. Martha be poppin'. And then I keep reading. It was outside was going down the apple trees to the foot of it was popping. Martha be popping. Outside is popping. The house was ready. The house was ready. Now, that seems to be my summary to convey the worries brought about by the. No, she seemed calm. She said she was calm. Everything seemed to be fine. It described the characters change over time. I had no instance of change over time. To contrast the activities indoors with the stillness outside. Activity. No, it wasn't still outside. The outside birds were popping. To depict the setting as the characters await. Yes, that's all that we got. We got a description of what we're looking at. Another one of these. Let's just start with the text. I'm serious, Henry. Henry, you are repulsive. You suck. Then how does Henry clap back? No, I don't. No, I don't. I know I have no smallpox. I don't have smallpox, and I also don't have small talk, but I can make sure that I know I don't. And even though I am awkward, it does not matter. Okay, fine. Oh, don't they? Small talk indeed. What about your large talk? What about your large talk? Really, dear, you mustn't stay. Oh, really? They hate something about you. Leave. What's the main purpose of the text? To describe what Henry's mother does when she goes out with a friend. I'm sure she's a wild woman. I can tell by how serious she is with her son, but that ain't it. To show that Henry's mother wants him to leave, she totally hates this guy. And that's definitely the case. To present a detail of what the home looks like, I have no details of that. To explain why I often visit, no. He is probably super clingy, but that is not the case. Describe the function of the underlying portion of the text of the whole. Let's first fight our fight here. Given the negligible cost of because, given, because, kind of a because messaging's costs are low. This is going to be tough. I don't have much here. I'll probably eventually have to read more, but let's try. Does it note a factor that led them to dismiss risk disclosure messaging altogether, despite their evidence? To not dismiss. Okay. Okay. Good thing I went back and read that. To note that it's out there, to not, you shouldn't get rid of it. Why? Because, okay, I like that so far. I don't really understand what's going on though. Let's see B and then maybe go to the next. Because messaging costs are low. It acknowledges a type of risk disclosure messaging that Sierra may not have fully accounted for. I don't think this is the language of this. I am going to read a little bit before. Sierra asserted that the effects must be worth pursuing, even given the negligible. Because yes, it also no. This is like throwing shade on them. It's certainly not doing that. It notes a factor that led them to not. This feels so good, despite their evidence of its limited utility. That such effects may be worth pursuing because it's a small cost. To not dismiss this thing. Don't dismiss it. Don't ever. I like this. It's got a low cost. I really like it. It describes a consideration that explains why they recommended risk even though its effects may be small relative to its cost. It describes a consideration, it does do that, that explains why they recommended risk even though its effects may be small relative. No, this is the fault. It's the opposite. It is that it has small costs. It has huge benefits given the small costs. So tricky. So A and C, everybody would pick either A or C, I think, on this one, but C is flipping it. It points out circumstances that they conceded. No, they're not making concession. This is B and D are on the same lens of just like total misinterpretation of the text. Miss Tree Woman was a woman of strong individuality whose comments upon her acquaintance. She was unique, I guess, and talked about people in a startling manner. Okay, this characteristic. Oh, she was disgusting. She was a jerk. People avoided her. Then we can go to the final sentence. She knew that people avoided her. She knew that people avoided her. She knew that people avoided her. And she liked it. Ooh, she knew it and liked it. She liked that she was a revolting human being. Okay, what's true about the people who knew her? They try to refrain from discussing topics that would upset her. Now, I like this, but it's a based on according to, and I don't remember my summary saying that, but I can imagine that, so I'll table that. They're unable to spend as much time as, no, they hate her. They are too preoccupied with their own concerns to speak with her. No, they hate her. I still kind of like A. They are likely offended by what, yes. Startling, avoided, absolutely. I have direct evidence to support that. And based on according to, those are the ones I'm going to select. We're trying to support a claim. What's my claim? What's my claim? In her letters to her husband and friend, she demonstrates her concern for what's happening at her home while she's away. My most honorable cousin is preparing for me a festival in which this is about her place while she's there. This is all about while she's worried about something while she's there. That's not it. We want it home. Next week, what she's doing while she's there. No, that's what she's doing while she's there. Forget not to care for the cat, the birds, and the flowers. Okay. Do not eat too quickly. Who is she writing to? We don't have to know, but I'm just curious. Miss Spring. Her husband and friend. Good wife. I'm enjoying the most agreeable visit in America as this is not. This is about her visit. This is the only one that gives us order one. I'm going to directly support the student's claim. What's the claim? The student asserts that the explanatory notes, here's my claim, that the explanatory notes are in the republication because they wanted to sell. In order to sell. Primarily in order to sell. Because. Primarily. The explanatory in the for the biggest reason of wanting to sell the stand alone. The explanatories were included in the reproduction. I don't know if I know the difference between the standalone and the republication, but I'm going to start engaging. The text of the poem is published in the quarterly journal. The text of the poem in the quarterly journal is not identical to the text of the poem published in the standalone volume. I want to know which one's which. So I'm going to read the previous sentence, the first sentence, and it was initially. So published in quarter is no note, and then later standalone volume has note. I understand. So it's standing alone from the thing, not standing alone from the explanatory notes. I got it. The text of the poem is published in the quarterly journal. It's not identical. So the first one is not identical. No, we want to prove that the biggest factor is the notes. If we were changing parts of the poem, there'd be a completely different argument being made. Many critics believe that the poet's explanatory notes remove certain ambiguities of the poem that make it less interesting. Oh, that would be hurting our sales, if anything. That's off. The publisher of the standalone volume requested the explanatory notes in order to make the book attractive to readers who already had a copy. Yeah, this one absolutely maps onto what I think it's going to be. The publishers wanted it in order to make the book attractive. Yes, this has to be it. I'll check D though. Correspondence between the poet and the publishers revealed that the poet's explanatory notes went through several drafts. So the explanatory notes are the biggest reason for wanting to sell the standalone for the biggest reason. So this does engage with it, but this just shows that he wanted to change that the publisher wanted the poet to change the thing, but it's not proving it that it was primarily a marketing device. Maybe he just was like, your notes suck, bro. The language here is the primary thing. We're trying to primary to sell. In order to sell is giving it exactly what we want. Let's engage with this. So we've got a data in the graph to support the hypothesis. I'll read the title. Metal contents of plants with and without K exposure. All right. We want to support their hypothesis. Let's find the hypothesis. The researchers grew 2 groups of seedlings, half of which had this, oh, geez, there's no hypothesis there. Hypothesized, here it is. They hypothesized, I'm making a note here because this is a lot. Response to K involves altering their uptake of iron and zinc. As I type that, I know it says such as and stuff, but as I was typing that, I was looking here. That's all I've got, right? Response to K involves altering their uptake of change with iron and zinc. So let's see if we can engage with this. Metal contents of plants with and without. Okay. The control plants contained control plants. That's got to be the without. They didn't have this thing, but I remember skimming that on accident. So half of which were exposed to without. So yeah, I was right. The control plants had higher levels of zinc. Zinc is green. No, this is lower. Metal content. How many? No, they had lower levels. Liar. Both groups of plants contain more than 200 parts per million of both. Both had more than 200 parts per million. That's true. All right, we pick him. I don't like it just because I know it's changed, but let's just pretend that we're overwhelmed, and I just kept cruising. Zinc levels around 300 parts per million in the control plants. Zinc levels around 300 parts per million in the control plants. Kind of around 400. But nearly 400 parts per million in the plant. No. The plant's exposed. That's not true. That's a liar. Zinc levels, but zinc levels were nearly 400. Yeah, that's so off. It's flipping them. I can't grant one for the other. The plants exposed to K showed lower levels of iron and zinc. Yes. So this, okay, it's definitely D. We want to show that change in change when given change. So this is the right answer. B is wrong because even though it is supported by the chart, and even though someone could look at the chart and extract D, the game here at the end is that the language of B does not express what it needs to be. What needs to express is that there is a change. And that's what we want. D is the right answer. Oof, we got another big one. We want data from the table to support these homies. We've got characteristics of 5 recently discovered gas exoplanets. Let's go to the last sentence and try to find our assertion. Announced and whew, thankfully we got our word that for our hot Jupiters, and one is a warm Jupiter. Okay. Characters of 5 recently discovered. I do not see how we'd extract that information about hotness, how hot a Jupiter is, and I look at A, and I don't know what it means to be a hot Jupiter. So I'm going to look in the text. Oh, so hot equals mass more than 0.25 and orbital period equals less than 10. Mass more than, oh, I should do it like this. Hot is this, warm would be, gas plants that meet the same mass. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. Mass more than 0.25 and orbital period more than 10. So mass is in this column. I wish I could pull down the column. Mass is in this column. Orbital period is in this column, so that's where I want to be living. And he's saying that there's like a 4 and 1. None of the gas planets have an orbital period of more than 10 days. None of the planets have an orbital period of more than 10 days. Well, that's not true. This one does. TOI147b. TOI1478b has an orbital period of 153 days. No, an orbital period of 10 days. Liar. And it's trying to get me to confuse these columns. All of the planets have a radius. I already don't like it because radius had nothing to do with what we were talking about, but I'm running out of options, so I'm kind of getting scared. All of the planets have a radius between 1.06 and 177. True. And only 133333b has an orbital period of more than 10 days. That's wrong. Only this one does. No. Each of the planets has a mass greater than 0.25 jupes. Absolutely. And all except this one has an orbital period of less, and having an orbit would be the 4 and 1. So this is the right answer. I don't think I would have had to check this one because it's not engaging with the time, but that's okay. We'll be fine. We want to logically complete the text. This discovery supports the idea. Let's bounce back one immediately and summarize again, or well, for the first time. Found a tablet in the tomb. The tomb's tablet tells that she was in charge of the countries. She was in charge. I'm just going to type it. Charge of the Treasury and Central and other central offices, like important offices and other important offices. She had this. Okay, whether or not she was a pharaoh, it doesn't matter if she was a pharaoh. This shows she was important. I really like A. I love A so much right now. She lived after rather than before. No, I have nothing about sequence. We found this thing. Traveled beyond Egypt's borders often. Maybe if someone were to misinterpret like the central offices, like tertiary offices, and like that she's a boss lady, means she does a lot. Trash. Created no form of writing. So they found a tablet, but it didn't suggest that she created this thing. Crazy. All we've got, it's important. Let's read this final sentence and go for it. We've got language nerds. Language nerds note similar examples in other languages which suggests that social, we don't need that. Social media does what? So languages note, this happens in other languages, right? The other languages. This happens in other languages. I don't really know what happens, but let's try to figure out. Is more useful for studying informal language. That's something that we could say appears to be exerting an exceptionally strong influence on the evolution of this language. I don't like this right now because I want to be showing this is in other languages. So to go exceptionally strong narrows the focus, removes the focus of other languages, and it almost makes it seem like it wouldn't be happening in other languages. So I think that's kind of trash. I'll put them in trash pile. Language nerds note similar examples in other languages suggests social media may give linguists a somewhat misleading sense of how languages are changing. I need to read more. This is a huge. From there, I've got 3 minutes, so I'm gonna relax. A notable recent example is the proliferation of this thing among speakers, which is the official language. Let's go back one more. Study changes in real time. A notable example is how this affix spreads. Linguists observed its start on social media with cats, and then they used it with other words. From there, it moved here. Yeah, so there are no claims about informal or as a useful tool for informal or formal, because it seems to be talking about the intersection of them. That's just way off. Somewhat misleading about how language. No, this is like though linguists love language change, right? They wouldn't be salty about something like this. It's trying to cash out the fact that they would think that a student would think that a teacher hates this or a linguist hates it, so would be grumpy about it. But all I've got, hopefully, it's going to be this. Yes, linguists have language note that similar, which suggests social media doesn't just do it; it causes it, right? Language is the ultimate democracy. This absolutely is our answer, and man, we are finito. GG.